Robert Howard was one of the most decorated American soldiers of the Vietnam War. Born in Alabama in 1939, Howard joined the United States Army as a young man and eventually served with the Special Forces. He completed 5 tours in Vietnam and spent years in some of the most dangerous combat zones of the war. But one mission in December of 1968 would become legendary. Howard was part of a force searching for a missing American soldier deep inside enemy-controlled territory. As the unit moved through the jungle, they were suddenly attacked by a much larger enemy force. A grenade exploded near Howard, badly wounding him and destroying his weapon. His injuries were so severe that he could no longer walk. Then Howard saw his platoon leader. The officer had also been badly wounded and was lying exposed to enemy fire. Howard was injured, unarmed, and unable to stand. But instead of trying to save himself, he began crawling toward the wounded officer. Under intense enemy fire, Howard crossed the battlefield until he reached him. He gave first aid and began preparing to move the injured man. Then ammunition carried by the officer was struck and began exploding. Howard was forced back for a moment, but he returned. He reached the officer again and began dragging him towards safety. The battle around them was still raging. American soldiers were wounded, scattered, and fighting for survival. Howard helped reorganize the surviving men into a defensive position. Even while wounded, he moved among the soldiers, gave first aid, encouraged them, and helped direct their defense. For roughly 3.5 hours, the small force continued fighting. Eventually, rescue helicopters were able to reach them. But Howard still refused to put himself first. He stayed on the ground and helped supervise the evacuation of the other soldiers. Only after his men were safely removed did Howard allow himself to be evacuated. His actions that day earned him the Medal of Honor. Even more remarkable, Howard was nominated for the Medal of Honor 3 separate times for 3 different combat actions during the Vietnam War. President Richard Nixon presented him with the Medal of Honor in 1971. Howard continued serving his country and eventually retired as a colonel after 36 years in the United States Army. He died in 2009 and was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery. Robert Howard was wounded, without a weapon, and unable to walk. And still, he crawled back into enemy fire to save another American. Remember his name, Colonel Robert Howard, Medal of Honor recipient, American hero.